Hello and welcome to the Key Stage 4 Maths lesson. Today we're going to be looking at Pythagoras theorem. You're going to learn what Pythagoras theorem is, how it's used and how it relates to triangles. But first of all, you need to know who Pythagoras was. So there's a photo of him, or drawing of him on the screen. And he was born in Samos in Greece and lived from 580 to 500 BC, so it's 2,600 years ago. He was a mathematician who became famous for discovering something unique about right-angled triangles. Now, the reason why right-angled triangles is in bold is because this theory only works with right-angled triangles. And you're now going to just try to find out what he discovered. So the first thing you need to know is the parts of a right-angled triangle. So as you can see in the corner, there's a square. That means it's a right-angled triangle. And Pythagoras found, he named the triangle, so the longest length of a triangle, he called the hypotenuse. And it's always opposite the right angle. So as you can see, the right angle is in the corner. Directly opposite is the longest length, which is called the hypotenuse. Now this is something you have to remember. And as long as you can remember it's opposite the right angle, as long as you can find the right angle, you'll always be able to find the hypotenuse. So if you just pause the screen for 3-4 minutes, and I want you to try and find the hypotenuse on those triangles. Okay, welcome back. We're going to work across the screen from left to right. So the first one is going to be x, y, z, and which one is the hypotenuse. The right angle is in the bottom corner, so the hypotenuse will be z. Next one across, C at the bottom, A at the side, and B along the diagonal. B would be the hypotenuse. On the one below that, working across towards the right, A, B, and C, and the hypotenuse would be the very bottom one, which is C. The last one, where it's got 90 degrees right in the corner, I've made slightly easy for you so you know where the right angle is. So to find the hypotenuse, you go directly opposite, and that would be C. So if you want to mark those yourself, you can. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is this. And you all should have a ruler and a pencil. Can you just take the next 5 to 10 minutes to accurately draw those top triangles? So 3 centimeters and 4 centimeters, 5 and 12, 6 and 8. And I want you to draw the triangles accurately. Once you've done that, unpause the video and I'll tell you what to do next. Okay, what I want you to do now is the longest side, the hypotenuse, on the triangles you have drew. Can you measure them and write it in the box labelled C? So for the first one, it should be 3, 4, and then your length, 5, 12, 6, 8, and then put your length in. Once you've done that one, I want you to square the numbers. So if you think back to what squaring means, so a squared, that means times by itself. So 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 4 is 16. Take your missing length, C, and times it by itself and put it in C squared. So you just pause the video and I'll give you a few minutes just to work that out, please. Okay, we'll start going through the columns. So those should be your missing lengths. So it should be 3, 4 and 5, 5, 12, 13, 6, 8 and 10. And then if we start squaring them, I already gave you the first two, 9 and 16, but 5 times 5 is 25. And there's the rest of the answers for you. And here's what the missing link was. If we take a squared and add it to b squared, so in the last three columns, you'll see it always equals c squared. So that means if you know two lengths of a triangle, a right-angled triangle, it's very important, a right-angled triangle, you'll always be able to work out the third length. So a squared plus b squared always equals c squared. So 9 add 16 equals 25, 25 add 144 equals 169, and 36 add 64 equals 100. So this is what Pythagoras says. For any right-angled triangle, the sum of the areas of the two small squares is equal to the area of the larger. So that means you work out that A times itself, B times itself, and it will always equal C times itself. So there it is as a visual format for you. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Can you just take a minute just to work out what that one is? So you should know this one as you just did on the last sheet, but I'll show you a different way to do it. 9 add 16 equals 25. So in an exam, if you've got 9 and you've got 16 and you add them together to 25, that would be c squared. How do I work out the length of x? So what is the opposite of squaring? And the answer is you do a square root. So if you do the square root of 25, it will equal 5. Here's one more example for you. There's my boxes of my areas. 7 times 7, you square the numbers first. And 9 times 9, which equals 81 and 49. You add those numbers together, which gives you 130. And then you do the square root of 130, which should equal 11.4. Can you try that one by yourselves? I'll give you 2 minutes to get that one done, and then we'll go through the answer of this one as well. So just pause the screen, give yourself a few minutes, and then we'll go through this one. Okay, so here's the answer to this one. The same process, we square them first, so 64 and 16, add them together, which equals 80. The square root of 80 equals 8.9. Can you try example 1 and example 2? So which is the longest side, so you square, add, and then you square root, and then we'll move on to the shorter side a bit later. So pause the screen and do example 1 and example 2, please. Okay, so if you send those into the Edge Academy, we'll get them marked and back out to you. And here are some more to try. Can you try A, B, C, and D? In fact, can you try them all? So pause the screen for 10-15 minutes and try them all, please. Okay, as I said, we're going to move on to working out the shorter side of a right-angled triangle. And we can still use the theory of Pythagoras, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We just might need to rearrange it slightly. So how do we find the length of the shorter side? Again, we square all the numbers we know. So 12 squared and 7 squared. But this time, rather than adding the numbers together, we subtract them. So you do the biggest number, take away the smaller number. So it'd be 144, take away 49, which equals 95. We then need the square root of that answer, which will equal 9.7. So it's quite similar, except instead of adding the numbers together, if it's a shorter side, so if it is not the hypotenuse, you subtract. Can you try that one? And then I'll go through the answer with you. So give yourself a few minutes, so just pause the video, and then I will go through the answers with you. Okay, so the first thing you do is square the numbers. 23 times itself, 15 times itself. You then subtract one from the other, which equals 304. You then do the square root of 304, which equals 17.4. Can you work out which one is the hypotenuse? And then, can you answer the questions? So this is a mix, so some will be the hypotenuse, the longest side, some will be the shorter side. At the top of the screen, you can see I've put how to do it at the top. So can you just pause the screen and try those for me, please? And here's your answers. Well, there's one answer. So that's one just to check it for you. So 14 times itself, 19 times itself. As it is the longest side, you add them together, you do the square root, which should equal 23.6. So there's one answer to check yourself. That will give you an idea if you are along the right lines. Next, can you try these ones for me, please? So calculate them for diagonal of this square. And now we're going to move on to some real life problems. So a boat travels 45 miles east, then 60 miles north. How far is it from where he started? Hint, draw a diagram. I have done that for you for the first one. So draw a diagram to help you understand the question. So if you take some time, just pause the screen and work those ones out, please. And there are some more real life problems for you. So how you could apply this in real life. So you just pause the screen. And remember, if it's a worded question, draw a diagram, it will help you understand. And that is the end of the lesson. So thank you all very much for taking part. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all soon.